I went on a church retreat last summer, out in a forested camp about 2 hours from the city. It was one of those quiet Christian getaways where they take your phone at the entrance and tell you it's about reconnecting with God. At first, it sounded peaceful, some time off the grid, surrounded by nature and faith. There were about 30 of us, mostly in our 20s, all strangers except for the pastors and organizers. The camp itself was tucked between dense trees and a lake that looked almost black after sunset. We stayed in wooden cabins, 2 bunk beds in each, and every morning began with group prayer by the water. It was all serene until the 3rd night. That evening, a storm had rolled in. The power went out around dinner, and they lit candles in the chapel where we gathered for an impromptu night prayer. The thunder echoed so hard you could feel the pews vibrate, but no one really minded. In fact, some of them said it made the prayer feel more powerful. The pastor, a man in his 60s named Elias, stood up front holding a flickering candle. His face looked stretched and hollow in the light. He started reading from a leather Bible, but then paused midway through. "Let us welcome the one who walks with us," he said. I assumed he meant Jesus, but then everyone got quiet, like deathly quiet. No rustling, no whispering, no breathing. I thought maybe they were praying silently, so I closed my eyes too. Then I heard the door creak open behind us. Footsteps followed, slow, wet, like someone had been walking barefoot through the mud outside. I turned my head slightly, just enough to glance behind me. There was a figure in the aisle, walking toward the altar. He was wearing a long white robe, soaked and clinging to his skin. His face was blurry. No, not just shadowed. Blurry. Like my eyes couldn't focus on it. Like it was constantly shifting. He didn't speak. He just walked up to Pastor Elias and stood there. The pastor knelt. Everyone else did too. I stayed seated, frozen. I didn't know what I was seeing. The figure raised a hand and placed it on Elias's head. Elias started whispering something, some kind of prayer, but the words didn't sound like any language I recognized. The voice coming out of him was deeper than it should have been, almost layered, like 2 or 3 voices speaking at once. Then the figure turned to face the crowd. I swear to God, even though his face was still a blur, I felt him looking straight at me. "Why don't you kneel?" he asked. His voice didn't come from his mouth. It was just in my head, loud. It made my ears ring. I dropped to my knees without meaning to. My body did it on its own. The candles flickered violently. Some went out. Someone in the front row started crying. "Be not afraid," the voice said, "for I am already inside you." Then he was gone. No footsteps this time, no door creak, just gone. Pastor Elias stood back up like nothing happened and resumed the prayer. Everyone else did too, like it had been normal, like that thing hadn't just walked among us. When I confronted one of the other attendees later that night, she smiled at me and said, "He visits us every year. Some of us are just lucky enough to remember." I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing those words in my head, "already inside you," over and over again, like they'd been etched into my skull. The next morning, the storm had passed and the sky was clear. Everyone was cheerful again, singing hymns, laughing. But Elias didn't show up for morning prayer. They said he'd gone home early. I found his Bible still open on the altar. The page was blank, just completely empty, except for one thing, written in shaky ink at the very bottom. "Don't trust the man in white."